He can and will kill you. Morgan warned her again, knocking on the door. I know. Veta muttered, rolling her shoulder nervously. This isn't you. He can do whatever he wants. I'll stay quiet by the door, not looking at him. He sighed. All right then, remember, you wanted to meet him. Darth Barras had his back turned as they entered, turning around when Morgan neared his desk. I see you decided to make haste in coming here, my new apprentice. And you kept the slave. Barras looked at her briefly. Without a collar, no less. Foolish. I need no collar to ensure obedience, master. Morgan answered neutrally. Barras laughed coldly, looking back at him. Spoken like a Sith. But that is not where your foolishness ends, is it? You killed an overseer, one that I did not give you leave to kill. And not only one, for the jailer has yet to wake from his coma. The Darth started pacing. That waste of skin was useless, easily replaced. The medical overseer was not. She had decades of experience with alchemy, and, uniquely, had no ties to anyone but the academy. Replacing her will not be simple. Morgan made sure to keep his voice soft, but wrath bled into it. She touched what was mine. He looked at the Darth directly. But that doesn't matter, does it? The overseer crossed me, in a way I could not ignore, so she died for it. Barras stayed silent, Morgan wondering briefly if he had used the wrong argument. It seems you have cast away the last of your slave roots with your victory over Vemrin. Bravo. Do not think you are her equal, however. She would have killed you, had your strike been slower. The Darth laughed again. Oh yes. If that had been a proper fight, I would have a corpse for an apprentice. It seems you are in need of remedial training. He pointed to the door. I have organized training with a blade master, who will show you how much you have yet to learn. My minion has given you the relevant details. Morgan bowed, walking to the door. The Darth's voice stopped him. And as for your slave, if you wish to keep her, so be it. If you wish to use her in a fight, she will learn to do so properly. I have arranged for her to join a class of fresh recruits for the Imperial Reconnaissance Branch. He turned, bowing again. Veta joined him as he walked out the door, not saying anything as they left. She broke that silence as soon as they were out of the citadel. So that was the whole cold Sith act. Pretty convincing stuff. Good, Morgan said as he hailed a speeder. If it fooled you it might fool Barras, not that that seems likely. She hummed, snuggling into her seat against the cold as they took off. So, Imperial Reconnaissance. That's them scouts, right, like the one that gave you his knife? Indeed. Scouts, soldiers and assassins. They're a good fit for your skills. He looked at her sideways. How do you feel about it? Being sent to the military, I mean. You warned me. She shrugged. Not thrilled about it, but I imagine you can pull some strings if I want out. Not as long as Barras wants you there. He warned. But I'll see what I can do. They came to the military district some time later, Veta jumping out of the taxi. Well then, I suppose this is goodbye. He was caught off guard by the wave of displeasure he felt. For now. I'm sure we'll be running around the jungle sooner rather than later, hunting and killing. I doubt Barras is a safety-first kind of master. Veta smirked, her smile slightly off. I do get that vibe from him, yeah. He nodded to her, watched her wave, then ordered the speeder to the Citadel district again. Morgan used the time to bury his feelings, ones almost sharp when he pressed them down. He approached his destination an hour later, checking his datapad to see if this was the right place. An old warehouse stretched before him, the door locked with a code. He shrugged, unlocking it by waving his datapad in front of it. Most of the space was a single room, thick mats on the floor and walls. Racks of weapons and armor covered the back wall, no windows to be seen. Finally he arrives. Morgan whipped around, suppressing the urge to draw his weapon. An old Sith pureblood walked out of a small side room, sizing him up. So this is the hotshot that is killing overseers left and right. Pathetic. The woman was about Morgan's height, a scowl etched into her features. She threw him a lightsaber. "Defend yourself," she ordered. He didn't even have time to enforce before he was flying through the room, smashing into the padded wall. He strengthened his body as he fell, flipping to land on his feet. "These won't kill," the woman barked as she ignited her weapon. "But they'll hurt." Morgan sidestepped a thrust, focusing his sight on the woman's enforcement. He cursed internally. Far too advanced. "It'll take me weeks to start adapting that. Darth Barras tells me you have good perception." The woman sneered. "So that's your first assignment, copying from your betters. I doubt you'll learn anything." She nicked his shoulder, using the opening to send him flying across the room again. The wound burned, not that that bothered him. Truly worthless. "It's a wonder you survived until now." He watched as she seemed to teleport across the room, forcing him to put up a block for her overhead strike. His knees buckled. Well, this is going to be fun. What followed was hours of being beaten around the room, his body slowly accumulating welts and bruises. He sagged against the wall as the woman called a halt. "Take out the holocron," she ordered briskly. He ignored her, asking a question instead. "What's your name?" The pureblood narrowed her eyes. "You can call me Lady Trix." Morgan stood, his body complaining with every motion, and gave a shallow bow. "My lady." "Take out the holocron," she repeated, staring at it when he did. "Good, now open it." Her presence wrapped around the cube, to observe rather than interact. He ignored it, going for the entrance. To his surprise, there were two. "First I'm getting beaten like a fresh acolyte and now teacher is upping the difficulty." He complained silently, splitting his attention. He could do it, if needed. His already low power output cut in half, however, to the point even levitating a knife would be challenging. Lady Trix stayed silent as he worked, observing. It took him nearly half an hour. When the holocron finally clicked open, opening his eyes with it, he saw the pureblood sitting cross-legged in front of him. "Well, who might this be?" Teacher's voice drifted out, curiosity abundant in his tone. "I am Lady Trix," she responded. "And you are that annoying holocron that refused to teach me, back when I was still an acolyte." Teacher made a dismissive noise. "Then you did not pass the test. I owe you nothing." Lady Trix scowled to the holocron, as she had for hours at Morgan, but the cube seemed unaffected. Teacher turned away from her, floating over to Morgan. "So what might I assist my apprentice with this time?" "He is the apprentice of Darth Barras." Trix cut in sharply. "I," the cube said slowly, "am dead. Have been for centuries and centuries. I do hope the Darths of this age are not so fragile they cannot endure information storage devices from spreading knowledge." The pureblood scowl deepened. "Remember your place, holocron. Darth Barras has ordered the continuation of his alchemy lessons, placing special focus on increasing physical strength. Now that is a splendid idea." Teacher wobbled. "I personally prefer teaching regeneration before strength, but I will bow to the wisdom of your master on this matter." Lady Trix stalked off, leaving Morgan alone with the cube. "We will, of course, also continue your regeneration exercises," Teacher informed him. "But increasing physical might is not a bad idea. It will give you a good foundation for the later stages of flesh shaping, and mistakes will be relatively easy to fix." Morgan shook his head, wondering if it was too late to leave him on Korriban. "It should take some months to do it properly, and your skill will put a hard limit on the amount of modification we can do, but an increase of 3 to 4 times in strength is quite doable." Morgan resisted the urge to cackle. "I take back every bad thing I've ever said about you," he promised Teacher. The cube pointed at him suspiciously. "You haven't said anything bad about me." "Then I suppose taking it back will be easy." Morgan smiled. He ignored how he briefly wanted to turn to Veta, smirking with her about how Teacher spluttered. He sombered quickly because of it. Let's get started. Very well, teacher said crossly. First, it is important to understand we will not be increasing muscle mass as much as density. We will also need to strengthen various tendons, ligaments and bones to ensure you can handle the strain. Now, do as I say and be exact about it. I wonder if this is more boring than the cage. No, surely not. Vetter thought, standing at parade rest with the other recruits. There were 30 of them, standing in 2 lines as their old captain marched between them. Courage and loyalty to the Empire is the highest virtue a soldier can possess. Before any of you leave my training, that will be instilled into your bones. The man bellowed. Vetter did the hardest thing she had ever done, and resisted rolling her eyes. By the goddess, this is actually worse than Korriban. At least Morgan was there to kill people like this, or at the very least make them uncomfortable. You will walk like soldiers, talk like soldiers, and you will damn well die like soldiers. The captain screamed. Vetter joined the rest of the class as they shouted in return, "Say yes, sir." Contact sparring, 10 minutes. Get changed. Vetter smiled, relishing the change of pace. For a week now they had been taught how to walk, talk and maintain blasters. Things Vetter could do in her sleep, especially the latter. 15 minutes later she walked into the sparring ring, training knife in hand. She smirked at her opponent, a man, who was looking at her disdainfully. Some human, oozing arrogance but holding his knife poorly. The captain barked at them to start, Vetter shooting forward. The man barely had time to flinch before he was on the floor, her knife an inch from his throat. She looked around to see most of the rest of the class looking at her as her opponent had, before she had wiped it off his face. Alien. Filth. Gutter trash. I've heard worse, you little shits. I survived Korriban. You are nothing. She thought at them. Vetter looked at the captain, only to see him looking at the rest of the recruits with narrowed eyes. He seemed annoyed. Good job, recruit. The man barked at her. I see the Sith sent you here for a good reason. Half the recruits leaned back, fear shuttering over their faces. The other half wiped any hint of disdain from their looks. The captain looked vindicated, just for a moment. Ah, so that's it. Vetter realized. He'd rather not have the Sith pay a visit because they did something stupid. She smirked at the man, enjoying the look of indignation that didn't go further than his eyes. Any other recruit would have been chewed out. I'm going to enjoy this. Another man took her opponent's place, the captain bellowing they would keep coming until she was defeated. Still, might as well learn what I can. I'm sure Morgan's been working his ass off. She softly shook her head. Can't very well let him be all terrifying on his own, I've got a reputation to think about. Her days blurred, and to her surprise she was starting to enjoy herself. The endless marching and saluting lessons were replaced with stealth and sniper training, both far more to her taste. She excelled. Vetter excelled a little too much, to the point the class started to resent her again. Not for being an alien, this time, but because she refused to slow down or give the rest of them a chance. Also because she was still an alien. So she wasn't entirely surprised when 4 of them cornered her in the bathrooms. Vetter laughed, taking the initiative before they could. So, before any of you say anything, I want to make sure I've got this right. She wiped a fake tear from her eye, holding her stomach. I'm better at essentially everything, so you resent me. That makes sense. Stupid, but it makes sense. So you're here to, I suppose, teach me a lesson. Ambush me when I'm all alone. Never mind that I've been throwing you around in CQC, or that the captain will have you hanged for this. The largest of them, Surta, snorted. The captain won't do shit. I'm the daughter of a baron, you alien filth. You don't belong here. All right, Vetter agreed easily. Say the captain won't touch you. I see this playing out in one of 3 ways. I beat the 4 of you bloody, until even your thick skulls learn not to mess with me. Second, you beat me, and I spend the rest of my time here brainstorming ways for you to have an accident. Lastly, you kill me. She smiled pleasantly at them. Let's go over what happens after each outcome. I beat you, and the captain won't do anything. You spent a long time in pain, and I'm still here. You beat me, I survive, and I'm still here. Now you have someone who is motivated, trained and willing to kill you. Or lastly, you kill me. Let me tell you what happens after you kill me. Veta told them happily. For a few days, nothing changes. Maybe the captain will disappear, because he seems smart like that. Then, one day, soldiers will come storming in. The kind of troopers that won't give two shits who your daddy is. After them comes something worse. After them comes Sith. He will come, make no mistake, and you will disappear. She laughed softly. But you won't die. Oh no. You'll go to Korriban, where every acolyte will use you to train their enhanced interrogation skills. Where you will break, day after day, until nothing is left of you but madness. Surta looked unimpressed, her friends less so. Like a Sith will give a shit what happens to you. For some reason Veta didn't have a doubt in the world what Morgan would do. Not after the Med Bay incident. That's for you to decide, isn't it? 3 of the would-be bullies backed off as she stalked forward, abandoning Surta. But it seems they made their choice. So, you think you can take me alone? The woman sneered, shooting her friends a betrayed look. Cowards, she stalked off, muttering angrily. The others scrambled after her. Veta sighed, looking in the mirror. That went pretty well. Wonder how long their fear lasts. More time passed, days falling into routine. Sleep late and wake early. Training stealth and agility, slowly building her body up back to pre-Korriban strength. Training with the sniper rifle, where thousands of shots were starting to sharpen her aim to levels even she found scary. Then, after nearly 3 weeks, something marvelous happened. Something she hadn't planned, hadn't foreseen. Her threat to Surta, thought of in the heat of the moment, came true. Soldiers interrupted them at the range, black-armored and heavily armed. Their captain trailed after them, talking softly with a Sith pureblood as he stalked forward. Veta shot her 4 would-be attackers a coy smile, pretending she had planned this. They bleached white, even Surta looking nervous. Any arrogance was gone, replaced with chilling fear. Even though she wouldn't admit it, Veta felt some fear herself. Everyone else had no way of knowing this wasn't Morgan. Would think this was her Sith patron. But she had no idea who this was, and the pureblood was walking straight towards her. Bring her. The Sith ordered briskly, 2 faceless soldiers surging forward. They didn't quite grab her shoulders as they escorted her, but every avenue of escape was blocked. One was walking closely behind, while the other stood further back. One to catch her, the other to shoot her. I think you got the wrong gal, she began. Veta didn't even get to introduce herself before the pureblood cut her off. You are Sina, going by the name Veta. Born on Ryloth during the Great Galactic War, living with your mother and sister. Spent your youth as a slave, working in the mines of Ryloth with your family. Sold from master to master from the age of 7 onward, separating you from your kin, until said captivity ended when you were recruited by the pirate Nok Drayan. You left some years later to join a band of Twi'lek hunters, stealing artifacts with religious or cultural significance to your people. Kada Bliss offered you a job on Korriban, which you took, unaware it was a trap. You were captured, and spent the next 6 months imprisoned in the academy. The Sith looked at her sideways. I have the right person. Veta swallowed, the fear in her stomach spreading. Well, that's me all right. They came to an office, her captain peeling off to return to the range after opening the door. The Sith walked behind the desk, motioning for her to take a seat. 2 soldiers took post at the door, the rest doing the same in the hallway. The only way out shut with an ominous click. He began, would like you to send a message to Morgan. Her defense mechanisms locked into place, responding to fear with sarcasm. Does that happen to include a few fingers, or maybe my head? If it does, I'm going to have to pass. The Sith blinked, taking a seat himself. I think there's been a misunderstanding. My name is Kripar, follower of Lord Zethix. Lord Morgan is our ally and close friend to my master. We wish to contact him, but are blocked while he is in training. We are not on the planet long, so Lady Mirla recommended we give the message to you. Veta blinked twice, wondered briefly if he was lying, then sagged in her seat. You scared the shit out of me. Coming in here, terrifying the captain, dragging me somewhere private. By the goddess, you have more information on me than Morgan does. Kripar tilted his head, a gesture Veta found to be singularly creepy on a pureblood. My apologies, that was not the intention. We keep track of everyone close to Lord Morgan, as ordered by Lord Zethix. So what's with the soldiers then? She snarked. Them? The Sith asked, surprised. That's the Special Forces unit I'm leading, have been since Korriban. They're here because it would be rude to ask them to wait outside. By the goddess, I thought I was getting killed here. Veta grumbled. You must be the worst at parties. Kripar shook his head politely. I do not often attend social functions, either now or before becoming Sith. Veta sighed, looking back at the two motionless soldiers posted at the door. All right, fine. What's the message? We are moving to Balmorra, where our trainers believe the increasing tension and sighting of former Republic troops is the perfect scenario for the last stage of our training. She waited a second, but the Sith appeared to be done speaking. That's it? Kripar nodded. Veta scowled. You could have written that on a damn note, no need to give me a heart attack. It was deemed better to give the message in person, even if we are not able to tell Lord Morgan directly. The Sith responded calmly. Veta narrowed her eyes. Why are you calling him Lord Morgan? He's still an apprentice, as far as I know. It is a sign of respect. The Sith answered plainly. He taught me much of what I know, back when we were being trained under Overseer Sasha. He and Lord Zethix are the reason most of us are alive, in fact. Morgan doesn't really talk about it. She muttered. Then I shall not do so either. In short, we owe him. Lord Zethix is his friend, and so we assist where we can. Veta sighed. Right then. I got the message. I'll tell him when I see him, goddess knows when that will be. The pureblood stood, causing the soldiers to open the door. Gratitude. Please give Lord Morgan my regards. She rolled her eyes. Will do. With that they left, Veta sitting alone in the captain's office. Well, if this doesn't stop any more bullshit from the other recruits, nothing will. You're a shame to Sith everywhere. Lady Trix barked. 6 weeks we've been here, and you can't even touch me. Morgan contemplated pointing out that he nearly did, a week ago. Of course, after that, she had set up floating targets for him. Ordered him to sink his vibroknife in the center while they fought, as if he had concentration to spare. A not too terrible crowd control method, if you can master it properly. She had said. At the very least I'm getting stronger. He consoled himself. His body flexed with power, jumping to the side to avoid a strike to the head. The training lightsaber, for all that it would only leave burns, would still take his eyes. And teacher said we're only halfway to my limit. He thought giddily. He already felt faster, his increase in strength compounding with enforcement. It did take adjustment, his reflexes slightly off each time he went through a session with teacher. Lucky for him, Lady Trix seemed more than happy to spar. That's not even considering her enforcement. He thought, thrusting his blade forward. She slapped it aside contemptuously. Especially now that I'm finally getting the hang of adapting her technique. The spar lasted another 20 moves, Morgan sagging down the wall where the Sith had kicked him. Lady Trix sneered down at him, as usual. I've no idea what Darth Barras sees in you. Mediocre talent with the saber, pathetically weak in the dark, and I've seen snails better at alchemy. Morgan ignored the insults like stone did water, standing and bowing. I'll do better, my lady. Ha! She snorted. You seem able to keep your emotions in check, so that's something. Trix stalked up to him, poking his chest hard. Sith are driven by emotion, but never ruled by it. Remember that, little apprentice. She stalked out, disappearing in the little side chamber he wasn't allowed in. He looked to the place he slept, a simple cot in the corner. Morgan smiled, remembering when she had tried to surprise him in the night. To teach him that nowhere was truly safe. Like soft voice didn't train us to sleep lightly. He must have drowned me in water a dozen times before I learned. His smile faded, looking at the empty room. A pang of loneliness was ruthlessly shoved down, together with the face that popped up. I see you are done training for the afternoon. Good, we are almost at a breakthrough. Teacher spoke behind him. Morgan turned slowly, nodding at the cube. Maybe not entirely alone. Sit. Teacher ordered. Enrich your blood. Feel how it flows, how each heartbeat circulates it around the body. Morgan did, sitting cross-legged on the floor. He closed his eyes, turning his attention inwards. The force flowed, first down one arm and then the other. Adding a leg had proven difficult, but doable. Now he was nearly done with his other leg, trying to connect the whole thing together. 4 strands stretched from his heart, each to the tip of his hands and feet. All thrummed with power, stimulating recovery and oxygen. Yet no matter what he did, the 4th strand refused to stretch all the way down. Refused to reach his toes, no matter how he tried to push it. He sat there, eyes closed and attention inward, for near an hour before he took a break. I still can't quite reach it, he told teacher. It won't stretch that far. The cube responded, considering. And who said stretching was required? Morgan frowned. You did. Have been for weeks now. So I did. Do you wish to know why? Teacher continued without waiting. It is to train control. To train patience. Alchemy is a dangerous art, fleshcrafting more so. Back when every acolyte received training in the very long ago, we had them practice like this. How far do you think they got, before giving up? Before their instructor told them the secret? He frowned, shrugging. All 4. No, teacher laughed. Most certainly not. You were considered gifted when reaching 2, and overseers would fight over those that could do 3. The cube warbled closer to him. But you got 2 limbs in days, and managed what few have in weeks. Your blade master is harsh, but not untrue. Your skill with a saber comes from practice, not an innate gift. The dark is weak in you, enough so most techniques normal for other Sith would exhaust you in seconds. But you have control, teacher insisted. Removing weakness is good, yet it is by playing to our strength that we conquer. Let them have their lightning storms, their crushing waves of despair. Let them break armies. With alchemy you can build them. Any soldier fighting for you unbreakable. Any beast unkillable. The cube laughed, filling the room. And if you do it right? Those soldiers will be loyal unto death, a fate no follower of a fleshcrafter lord will succumb to easily. You have no idea the worlds that have fallen. The Jedi that have run. Make no mistake, Morgan. No one rules alone, not even Sith. Fleshcrafters rule through loyalty, not fear. Don't forget that. Morgan smiled, oddly touched. That almost sounds like you're trying to make me feel better. Teacher scoffed, floating in circles. Ridiculous. Now focus, and I will tell you the secret. Morgan closed his eyes again. Go down one arm, but not the second. Feel the blood at your hand. What is it doing? It's turning around. Morgan answered. Right, that seems logical. Blood needs more minerals and oxygen before it can do its job again. On a whim, he tried to follow it. Instead of making a second strand, he looped the one back around. Going down the second arm was harder that way, but when he reached the point where he normally had to make a third, he smirked. I see you figured it out. Teacher commented. It starts harder, but the curve is not exponential, like before. So why make me do the inferior technique for so long? Morgan asked. I could have gotten this down weeks ago. Teacher shrugged, Morgan unclear on how exactly the cube did that. I wanted to see how far you'd come. Morgan completed the loop down his last leg, bringing the strand back to his heart. He connected the two ends, feeling the mental strain lessen as it fed itself from his reserves. One big loop, he said. Teacher dipped up and down. Indeed. It is the first step, one that will be used for any change you wish to make. He raised an eyebrow. What about strengthening my muscles? I've been doing that for weeks. I said almost. Morgan coughed pointedly at the evasion. Teacher sighed. Fine. No, it's not technically required. Just like you don't need the force to wield a lightsaber, or pilot training to fly a ship. But it sure helps. Morgan muttered. I see your point. So now what? Now you practice, until you can complete the loop in under 3 heartbeats. Teacher ordered. Then, we will see. Increasing strength will be easier, now that you can properly feel what you are doing. Morgan nodded, letting the loop fade before starting again. He pushed the excited urge to show Veta way down. Morgan blatantly ignored how it was getting harder every time he did so. Veta looked at her 4 opponents, all showing less nerves than she would have imagined. Fair's fair, I'm not the only one learning stuff. She hooked her arm under the shoulder of the first recruit that swung at her, knife uselessly dangling in his hand as she twisted him to the ground. The other 3 used her temporary distraction to advance, trying to grab and lock her in place. She jumped back instead, running her knife across the back of Surta's hand. She always overextended it in her first attack. The training knife had its edge dulled, otherwise she would have lost the hand. Not that that stopped the pain. Veta ducked to avoid a high kick, punishing the fancy move by smashing the leg from out under the recruit that tried it. He went down hard. She could briefly see the captain as she twirled, shaking his head with a scowl on his face. Veta smirked. The drills are stupid, marching can go fuck itself, and if I ever see that damned obstacle course again I'll kill someone, but this is pretty fun. She finished smashing the rest of them to the floor, twirling her knife idly as she waited for them to be replaced with 4 more. Honestly don't know why the captain keeps doing this. I trained my knife skills with pirates, for goddess sake. This sorry bunch needs about 2 years of training before they can even touch me. Another 4 recruits finished climbing in the ring. She lightly jumped up and down, enjoying how strong her legs felt. A year on Korriban had rather atrophied her muscles, so she had almost forgotten what it felt like to be in shape. She spent another half-hour kicking recruits into the dirt, almost feeling bad for them by the end. Almost. After that the captain had them march to another part of the large outdoor field, Veta smiling with glee when she saw the snipers. Now this might just be my favorite part. Muted shots rang through the clearing as they practiced, Veta making little figurines in the farthest available target 2 clicks away. The captain walked past her with binoculars, not saying anything when he saw her stick figure art. It's been almost 3 months. She thought, adjusting her scope slightly. Wonder when we'll be getting out of here. I plateaued weeks ago, and most of the others are starting to as well. She watched as the recruit next to her missed the target by a wide margin, cursing under her breath. Most of us. She repeated mentally. Her answer came later that night, just after a rather grueling 20-mile run in full gear. The whole class was standing at attention, the captain walking between them briskly. Over the last few months I have given you the skills needed to be a scout. The man bellowed. Some of you are ready, some of you are not. In 1 week's time, you will be tested. Forged. The captain paused, looking at the ceiling. Some of you will not survive. Some of you will be broken, be it mentally or otherwise. He snapped his gaze back down, glaring at them all. But the rest of you will be troopers of the Imperial Reconnaissance Branch. The lifeblood of military intelligence. Your final test will be conducted in the jungles, in those places where beasts still rule. Every skill will be tested, every weakness will be expunged. The man lectured loudly. Until nothing remains but iron will. The captain looked at them gravely. Prepare yourselves. This will be the hardest test of your lives. A week later Veta was calmly tracking her 19th kill, hiding high up a tree. Her partner for the exam, someone she had honestly forgotten the name of, was shivering beside her. She lightly squeezed the trigger, the dull thud of hundreds of kilos of gundak falling to the ground heralding her kill. Her partner whined. "Can we go yet? We only needed to kill one each." "No," Veta said sternly. "I heard the record was 27, and we won't leave until I've beaten it." Her partner made a low choking sound, something that sounded suspiciously like crying, until Veta slapped him on the back. "Let's go. The body will attract scavengers, not the beasts we need. Go into the jungle, track a sleen, Jurgaran or gundak. Kill it, and you will have passed the exam." The captain had told them. "Any additional kills will award the attention of your superiors, for those that wish to climb the ranks." She half dragged her partner to another good vantage point, slightly lower than their old one. The trees were easy to climb, sturdy branches making the task trivial compared to the obstacle course. She laid down, overlooking a pond of water. Her partner joined her a minute later, breathing hard. Veta spared him little attention, seeing a sleen darting from behind a tree. She waited until it calmed, nearing the water to drink. Her finger twitched and the beast was dead. Only 8 more to go. They arrived at the small camp hours later, her whole class standing miserably in the rain. Night had nearly fallen, the camp swallowed in shadows. The captain was staring at the jungle, only looking at them when they saluted. Well, her partner saluted. Veta performed a sort of half-wave half-salute, grinning broadly. 29 confirmed kills. The captain nodded. "So the observation drones report. Congratulations, you beat the record. Hear that, you maggots." He barked behind him. "The alien, who you call filth, just beat the runner-up by 20 kills, while simultaneously breaking the division record. A record, mind you, that has stood unbroken for 36 years. The rest of the class snapped ramrods straight, saluting. "We offer praise to the winner," they shouted over the rain. Veta had to admit it felt kinda good, seeing all those superior Imperial recruits try their hardest not to scowl. "Dismissed," the captain ordered briskly. He stopped Veta with a raised hand. "Not you." The captain handed her a datapad when they were alone, still soaking under the rain. Not that Veta could get any wetter at this point. "Lord Morgan has sent word, and wishes that you join him when we get back to base." The man hesitated, looking around to check if they were alone. He leaned closer. "That was my record you just broke, you know. I was proud when I beat the previous holder, I still am." She raised an eyebrow, hand itching to her knife. The captain shook his head. "I'm not blaming you. I requested an assignment where I could pass on my skills, hoping to teach the newest generation. Not quite what I hoped for, teaching spoiled brats how to hold a blaster." The man shook his head. "Not important, you've got skill. A talent you must have spent years honing, long before you came here." Veta nodded, wondering where he was going with this. "I figured. Sometimes I think we did little more than allow you to get back into shape, sharpening your edge." She felt a strange sense of fondness for the man, something she hadn't expected. "You did teach me things. I hadn't spent much time with snipers before." "Ha!" The captain snorted. "Glad to hear we didn't waste your time." The man sobered. "This Sith, the one you work for. Do you trust him?" The question took her off guard, so she answered more truthfully than she probably should have. "He's earned it." "Thought so. I saw the holo about the threats you made when they tried to attack you in the bathroom, months ago. You seemed very confident about what he would do." He smiled grimly when she scowled. "Imperial intelligence does not care for your privacy, let alone your modesty. Something to remember. Sith are temperamental creatures. People of passion. I've seen one tear apart a cruiser, cutting through hundreds of soldiers before blowing up the engine. Our ship fished him out of space an hour later, looking bored more than anything. They're not human, forgive the figure of speech. Not anymore." The captain looked at her seriously. They hold absolute power in the Empire. I've watched talented officers rise fast and fall faster. Seen them turn moffs and admirals against each other, brothers cutting into brothers because they deemed it so. Be careful. You have talent. Real talent. Don't let a Sith waste it on some petty feud. He walked off before Veta could respond. She frowned. He cared. An Imperial officer just cared. About me. An alien. She walked back to camp proper, ignoring whatever looks she got. Hating the Empire doesn't mean you have to hate every person in it. She told herself firmly. Some can be nice. That's still legal. She looked to the datapad, double-checking the address. She ignored the warm feeling in her stomach, convincing herself she was just glad to get out of the military. That's right. Just happy about leaving the jungle. 2 rhythmic thuds echoed through the chamber as Morgan sparred with Lady Trix. 2 knives, his knives, unerringly finding the ever-moving targets. He ducked, sweeping left to make space. For the first time in nearly 3 months, Lady Trix was forced back, neatly dancing out of the way. He capitalized, dashing forward with a kick. A move he had learned from the very Sith he was fighting, so she danced out of the way again. His bare foot impacted the wall, metal complaining loudly as he used it to launch himself in the air. He could almost feel Lady Trix scoff as he left himself vulnerable, could hear the saber coming to smack him down. He couldn't see the look on her face when a vibroknife nearly took her leg, something he regretted dearly. He landed on the other side of the room, his enforcement humming in tune with his heart. Teacher had assured him that was normal. Lady Trix was watching him passively as his knives went back to finding their targets, the dull thuds filling the room again. Morgan didn't relax. It seems you can learn after all. She scowled. Enough of this. Your training under me is done. Get out. Morgan didn't show his puzzlement at the sudden dismissal, taking his meager belongings and walking to the door. His knives sheathed themselves at his belt, ready to impale at a moment's notice. He expected to be ambushed, Lady Trix lecturing him about letting his guard down. Nothing happened. He walked out the door, seeing the sky for the first time in months. He stared at it, mesmerized. Teacher started to float next to him, escaping his pouch. In case it wasn't clear, my sometimes dense apprentice, she dismissed you because you're starting to catch up. Most would hold a grudge after being beaten around for months, and she can't fathom you don't. Morgan hummed. I nearly got her with the knife. A trick that would have worked exactly once, but yes. The cube snorted. If it had, it would have taken the leg. Training you is starting to become too much of a risk for her. Consider it a mark of respect. Morgan took out his datapad, and then promptly realized he had no real way to contact Veta. It never crossed his mind that he should probably report to Darth Barras first. He sighed, taking a speeder to the military district. When he was there he motioned over a lieutenant. The soldier very rapidly contacted Veta's captain, looking at him nervously every few seconds. Done, my lord. The class is just about to finish their first stage of training, and the soldier you requested will be here around 2200 hours. The lieutenant saluted briskly. Is there anything else I can assist you with, sir? That'll be all, Lieutenant. He dismissed the man, ignoring how the soldier tried very hard to appear normal as he walked away. Got some time to kill, might as well see the sights. He walked around the camp, wandering places he likely wasn't allowed in. He stared at groups of fresh recruits being drilled on large fields, enjoying how distracted their instructors became when they noticed him. When his stomach told him to eat, he walked into a mess hall, calmly waiting in line as the cooks filled his tray. He was halfway out the door when a trooper finally noticed the lightsaber at his belt, shooting from his bench and saluting. He left, leaving a room full of confused soldiers, and jumped up to the top of the building. 2 people were arguing over a sniper, falling silent when he joined them on the roof. He ignored them. He returned the plate when he was done, having to almost press it into the hands of the very scared and stuttering cooks, before he returned to his wandering. Morgan was half meditating when a group of scouts marched into the base, wet and miserable. The only alien among them broke formation, skipping over to him. He realized he was smiling himself when he saw a grin cover half Vetta's face. "Hiya, stranger," she chirped. "Guess what I just did?" "Huh, guess." Morgan closed his eyes, sinking into the force. He felt its currents, how they flowed and twisted. "You just broke a record. Something about stalking beasts. You hunted them." "Yes, you killed many. I see soldiers saluting," a captain whispering quietly. Vetta's smile faltered, eyes widening. She scowled when his serious face broke, smirking at her. She punched his shoulder. "I had time to kill, so I read the reports," he confessed. "Jerk," she muttered. "How'd you know about the captain whispering to me? He put that in his report." Morgan froze, taking out his datapad. No. That wasn't in the report. Nothing about soldiers saluting either. "I don't know how I know that. I just do." Veta raised an eyebrow, rolling her eyes. Yay, very funny. Know when to quit a joke." Morgan handed her the report. "I'm not. That's not in there, Veta." Her eyes scanned the pages as they walked to her locker, finally muttering something incoherent. "Okay. So that's going into the spooky force stuff I don't want to think about box." "So," she forcefully moved on, "a Sith came to visit me during training. Pureblood named Krupar. Ring a bell?" Morgan nodded, taking his datapad back. "Used to be part of my faction back during the project." "What did he want?" "Oh, that's good. Thought maybe he was lying or something. Wanted to give you a message, but said they couldn't get to you or something. What have you been up to, anyway?" "Getting the shit beaten out of me." Morgan waved his hand. "Learning some more about fleshcrafting. Made myself about 4 times stronger, learned to control 2 knives." "What was the message?" Veta grinned. Busy, as always. "I've been training too, thanks for asking." Morgan rolled his eyes. "The Sith said they were being deployed to Balmorra, finishing their training or something. He had special forces with him, so probably ghost shit." Morgan looked at her questioningly. "You know, Black Ops?" "Never mind." He shook his head, hiding a smile as they bickered back and forth. His feelings went rogue, contentment filling his chest. "I've missed you." Morgan couldn't quite stop his conscious mind from agreeing. "So why are we escorting this prisoner again? It seems the dozen or so soldiers here, and, of course, the extremely competent Commander Lanklin, have this well under control." Veta complained loudly. Said Commander twitched, but otherwise ignored her. Morgan hummed. "In short? Because Darth Barras ordered us to." "And the not short version?" He sighed. Veta smirked at having managed to annoy him, so he sighed again. "Prisoner important. We protect. We deliver, then we no die." Veta pouted, an expression far too dangerous on her. Not that Morgan was influenced by it. No, of course not. Morgan looked back, most definitely not to distract himself, and saw the carbonite slab still floating behind them. The spaceport was rather enormous, seeing as they were in the capital of an empire containing trillions. The port was suitably spacious, and the prisoner was offloaded in an out-of-the-way hangar to begin with. It meant they had been walking for an hour already, no trouble in sight. Veta was becoming more bored by the minute, and Morgan had to admit he was joining her. The troopers didn't share their confidence, though. A tense bunch, their micromanaging commander not helping the mood. It seemed the only relaxed person from their ship was the prisoner, frozen in carbonite as he was. "Oh, here we go." Veta muttered casually, her hand slowly moving to her blaster. Morgan remained silent as a group of dock workers, mechanics and drunk civilians rounded the corner, breaking into an argument almost immediately. "Clear out the rabble," the commander ordered briskly, irritation clear in his tone. Half the troopers surged forward, but Morgan stopped them with a raised hand. "Hold that order, Commander. Possible ambush. Take positions." The soldiers stopped, taking cover where they could. Morgan saw two of them peel off, moving back from where they came. The carbonite slab was left where it was, floating in the middle of the hallway. "Now what?" Veta whispered. "Now we wait. I'm curious to see how long they'll keep arguing for." Several minutes later, a human broke from the mob, wearing a resigned expression. Dreadlocks obscured his face, a blaster visible on his hip. Well, it was worth a try. The commander seemed the type to act first and ask questions never. If only Barras hadn't sent a Sith. This could have been done by now. The mob pulled weapons, spreading out. The human approached closer, feeling unafraid. Interesting. He's either very stupid or confident about facing Sith. Half the mob whirled around before the situation could devolve further. Morgan could vaguely see another group approach from further down the hall, led by a male Hoke. "All right, enough of this. One chance, Dreadlock man. Leave." The man looked behind him, cursing under his breath. "Well, now it's a party. Unfortunately I can't. My master wants that prisoner, and it seems so does Tumar. But make no mistake, you are not the first Sith I've killed. Veta, do as you think is best. Commander, keep your men back," Morgan ordered shortly, leaping at the man. The human drew his blaster, a single shot from Veta taking his head shortly before he could do anything with it. Morgan kicked off the wall behind him, jumping deep into enemy lines. The hall devolved into chaos, Morgan's knives slipping from his belt. Ominous red filled the hall as his lightsaber ignited, causing the thugs closest to him to flinch. They never saw the knives coming. "I do think this is a tad unfair," Morgan mused, his lightsaber cutting through yet another dockworker. "These guys don't exactly feel like well-trained soldiers." He could feel Veta further behind him, killing as many as the rest of the soldiers combined. He sliced through a Hoke, wondering briefly if it was the same one he had seen before. The second ambush party staggered back, a few deciding discretion was the better part of valor. The dam broke, both parties fleeing as they saw their comrades desert. Morgan's knives returned to his hands, using a piece of cloth to clean them before returning them to his belt. The commander approached soon after, Veta close behind. He looked a tad white. "I'll never doubt Darth Barras again." The commander shuddered, looking at the carnage. "I've never seen anything like that, either. My thanks, Sith. I'd have lost good men if you hadn't been here." "What am I, chopped liver?" Veta griped. The commander ignored her, as he had been doing since they got here. Morgan decided he didn't like the man much. "Just so you are aware, Commander Lanklin, Darth Barras has given me leave to do essentially anything I wish. As long as I get the job done, he cares not what happens. Not to enemies, allies or anyone in between." Morgan stared at the commander. "Do not disrespect her again." The man stuttered out an apology, ordering his men forward. They watched as the carbonite and its escort moved down the hall, stepping over the bodies. The two troopers guarding their rear jogged past soon after. "You didn't have to do that," Veta told him as they followed at a distance. "I'm used to being ignored." Morgan looked at her, tilting his head. "You have fought for me. Bled for me. If they can't see your worth, shame on them, but I will not allow them to treat you badly. I'll just punch them or something." Veta smiled at him brightly. "You know, as long as I'm under your mighty Sith protection." He snorted. "Try not to start a civil war, but sure." They moved in silence for a few minutes, keeping distance from the rest of the squad. Veta mumbled quietly as they moved through an enormous hangar. "Thanks. I have a habit of deflecting, but I appreciate it. Seriously. Go to the Imperial outpost in the jungle outside the city. Commander Pritch is stationed there. Assist him while I thaw and wring any morsel of information from my prisoner." Darth Barras finished. Morgan bowed, motioning Veta to follow him as he walked out. So that was a Republic spy, eh? She commented as their speeder took off, taking them away from the citadel. And now we're going back to the jungle. No rest for the wicked. We'll report to Pritch tomorrow. That reminds me, I haven't a clue where we're supposed to sleep for the night. Veta rolled her eyes. 3 months and you haven't even gone over all the information that Barras's minion gave us at the spaceport? I was busy. Morgan protested. Besides, isn't it your job to arrange things like that? Sith should not have to deal with such menial tasks. Ha! She mocked. Now we see your true colors. Honestly, it's a wonder you've managed to stay alive this long without me. Veta took over the taxi controls. You have a room at some hotel. Either means he doesn't want you at the Citadel, is too cheap to buy you a place, or we're not going to be on Dromund Cars for much longer. Well, I'm glad one of us can see through Barras so easily. Morgan responded dryly. Veta blushed. Just a guess. Still, I thought you'd be glad not to be surrounded by hordes of Sith. I have made my opinion on them clear, haven't I? Kindly don't spread that around. She rolled her eyes. I'm not stupid. No. Morgan informed her gently. You're insubordinate, probably a kleptomaniac and really stubborn. But you're not stupid. Veta pouted, sticking her tongue out at him. Gee, thanks. Glad to be appreciated. They came to the hotel, the receptionist bowing as they walked in. My lord. We've been expecting your arrival. The man handed him a key, looking sideways at Veta. Your belongings are waiting for you, and our staff will gladly carry out any task or request you have for us. Morgan nodded, taking the key. Veta looked at the man curiously, piping up when the elevator doors closed. Didn't know spooks staffed hotels. Then again, I've never been to one this fancy. Barras likely owns the whole building. Best assume the rooms are bugged too. And staffed it with spies? Seems like his style. They came to the room soon after, seeing their stuff neatly stacked near the desk. That reminds me. We should go helmet shopping before tomorrow, if we can afford it. Barras gave us an account. Veta muttered, rifling through their things. You really should read that info packet he gave us. There's nearly 100 grand in there. Morgan raised an eyebrow. And you resisted spending it all? I never knew you had such restraint. It's keyed to you. She pouted. I tried. Also, just in case you overlooked it, there's only one bed. Morgan peeked into the bedroom, seeing she was right. I guess I'll take the couch. He offered at the same time Veta said. Well, can't be helped. He looked at her dryly as she scowled at him, turning away. As if you've never had to share a bed before. Check your privilege. Yes, he assented easily. The Sith should really remember to check his ego. Thanks for reminding me. He moved to the couch, one that could easily accommodate a party. I think I'll be fine. Your loss. She called from the bedroom. You want a shower first? I bought us clothes, should be in the pile somewhere. When? And I thought you didn't have access to the account. Veta returned from her inspection, throwing herself on the couch when he walked to the pile. We did get leave, every now and then. And who said I paid with legally acquired money? I'm not a hack. Morgan rolled his eyes, walking into the bathroom. When he was done showering he realized he took nothing with him, except a towel and his old clothes. He sniffed them. I'm not getting back into those. He tied the towel around his waist, exiting the bathroom. Veta saw him almost as soon as he opened the door, walking forward with purpose. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, but you do realize we're sharing a room now? He stopped, looking down. Oh, right. That never used to be a problem. Jesus, I'm tired. Sorry, didn't used to be a problem, he apologized, rooting through the pile. He found a bag with his name on it, looking at his spoils. It's also possible to politely look away, just so you know. Did you buy this stuff? I don't own this. Veta ignored him, busy ogling. Morgan resisted the urge to square his shoulders. What? Oh, don't know her politely. Is she nice? He rolled his eyes, Vetta's brain catching up to the conversation. Wait, what do you mean it didn't used to be a problem? I was fat. He reminded her, taking his clothes to the bathroom. People reacted with little more than slight disgust, if they reacted at all. He heard Veta yelp, hearing something fall almost immediately after. Oh, right. Were you happy, back then? Happier than now. Morgan confirmed. I don't think about it much. Besides, this life comes with its own advantages. Right. He heard Veta mutter softly. He walked back some minutes later, fresh clothes hanging off him. That's not a dig on you, Veta. I was just a civilian. I had friends, a brother. I loved good food, watching movies or reading. My life was simple. She looked back at him, curious. Ever want to go back? Morgan smiled sadly, turning to the window. Veta shot up. Shit, sorry. Shouldn't have asked that. Fuck, sorry. I'll go take that shower now. She all but sprinted to the bathroom, leaving Morgan to his memories. I couldn't even if I wanted to. He didn't say. By the time she came out, fidgeting nervously, Morgan was already asleep on the couch. Barras scowled, ignoring the whirring produced by the interrogation droid keeping his prisoner alive. It seems you possess a strong will. He told his unconscious captive. We will have to shatter it, of course, but it's an admirable trait. He turned to his desk while the droid worked, picking up his datapad. And it seems my newest apprentice has arrived at his lodgings. Barras often talked to his prisoners. He found it helped him focus on the task at hand, with the added benefit that some found it terrifying beyond belief. Not that this particular captive seemed to share that opinion. He idly watched as his apprentice and the slave argued in their room, noting with interest the tidbit about a brother. Barras shot a request to intelligence for a background on his apprentice, one more thorough than the one he received when he became the boy's master. A brother was leverage, weakness. A weakness he preferred to hold rather than be threatened with. He worked through reports and mission briefings as he waited, both on his prisoner regaining consciousness and Imperial intelligence. The latter was faster. My lord. The message read. As requested, here is all current information compiled about the subject known as Morgan, no known last name. The subject was found during the capture of a Republic transport vessel, shipping foodstuffs to the Outer Rim. All members aboard were brought to a holding facility on the spaceport Kralims 4, awaiting further redistribution. During the subject's stay, Sith Marauder Blanche found Morgan to have force potential, and was remanded to his custody. The subject was brought to Korriban, where he was entered into Project Culling. Barras looked up as his prisoner groaned, looking back down as the man failed to regain consciousness. Information about the subject's family, in particular the brother, is unknown to us. In fact, the subject was not on the passenger list at all. This was, at the time, explained away as the subject having boarded the ship without the crew's knowledge. The ship's point of origin, along with more detailed information about its crew and passengers, was destroyed by the captain during the capture of the ship. We apologize that we are unable to assist further, my lord. Would you like us to assign an observation team to the subject? He replied with a negative. His apprentice would not be on the planet long, and any observers not placed very carefully would be found when his apprentice moved around the galaxy. His prisoner finally woke up, groaning and flexing against his restraints. Barras smiled behind his mask, walking over to him. I see you have graced the world with your presence. Shall we continue? The spy mumbled something inane about flowers. Barras rolled his eyes. Standard Cis distraction techniques won't help you here, little spy. He leaned over, whispering softly. I always find what cracks my prisoners. It's my trade, you see. My specialty. Barras stepped back, motioning toward the droid. It injected a serum into the agent's neck, one that would heighten all sensation. Everybody has a breaking point. He promised his prisoner. Let's find yours, shall we? Veta was quite glad they had stopped to buy helmets before coming here, because all the soldiers were staring again. Not at her, of course, but still. She wasn't used to it. Attention from soldiers was bad for her health, seeing as they tended to shoot pirates on sight. On Korriban, seeing Imperial troopers meant either capture, a fight to the death, or getting dragged back to the cage. She suppressed a shudder. Now the soldiers were lining up as they walked into camp, a camp looking rather more permanent than she would have imagined. She knew from experience the headache that came with holding even a small outpost so deep in the jungle, let alone a full base like this. Troopers from fresh recruits to veteran captains stopped and saluted as they walked deeper inside, a helpful lieutenant pointing them towards Commander Pritch. She ambled off as they reached him, waving to Morgan when he looked at her questioningly. The base was situated next to a large river, her newly militarized mind recognizing the advantages. Her survivalist eye also recognized the danger of things crawling out of it at night, but they probably knew what they were doing. She found an ensign looking out over a railing, staring into the water. So what's a commissioned Navy officer doing on a military base? She asked idly, coming to stand next to him. He didn't startle, to her disappointment. The ensign ignored her question. Pleasure to meet you, Veta. Is your lord around? Veta raised her eyebrow, not that the man could see it, and looked down into the surprisingly clear water. Seems you have me at a disadvantage. The man smirked. Ensign Corian Shai, Navy Intelligence. Currently on loan to the lauded Commander Pritch, to provide any and all assistance in dealing with the slave uprising. Pissed someone off, did you? Veta poked, taking off her helmet. The thing wasn't exactly comfortable on her leku, even if the seller insisted it was made for Twi'lek. You know how it is. You shank one drunk asshole after a night out and suddenly you're ashamed to the Navy and unable to properly suppress impulses. Sure, she agreed easily. So what you want with Morgan? Corian looked at her, curious. Must have a death wish, calling a Sith by his name. He waved his hand, dismissing his own comment. The slaves, while well-armed and organized, are exhibiting some strange behaviors. Some are killing one another, mutilating the bodies, making a real show of it. It's strange, an anomaly, and one I believe is the key to ending this little rebellion quickly. So you can get out of this jungle, back to civilization. Veta finished for him. The man wiggled his eyebrows. That goes without saying, yes. So what do you need my help with? The ensign shrugged. Not so much your help as your lord's, but sure. I'd like you to find out why the anomaly exists, report it to me, and end this rebellion. And what's in it for me? She demanded with a smirk. My services don't come free, you know. The man pulled out his datapad, flipping through some files. My discretionary fund has run rather dry, but how about this? You promised to help convince your lord to assist me, and I'll tell you a secret. I'll even tell you now, with only your word as my shield against betrayal. Depends on the secret. She hedged. But sounds fair. Corian handed her the datapad. A memo went out a few hours ago. Assist the Sith with whatever he requires, blah blah. Don't obstruct the Sith on penalty of death, blah blah. Here's the interesting part. He cleared his throat dramatically. The retinue of the Sith is to be considered outside military command, to be treated with deference and respect. She raised her eyebrow, unimpressed. So I don't have to answer to some upstart officer, not like I was going to do that anyway. If that's the secret, you're shit out of luck. You missed the juicy bit, my new friend, he said gleefully. The retinue is to be treated with deference. That means they don't get to give you orders, but they'll have to follow yours. The man waved absent-mindedly. Don't go trying to order around moffs or generals, mind. Still, anything under captain should be fair game. Quite a secret, eh? Veta had to admit it was, especially for one considered to be a second-class citizen. Being able to pull rank on most troopers she came across would certainly improve her chances of survival, should Morgan's presence somehow not be enough. The power of Sith, she thought dryly. Corian stiffened, all humor draining from his face. Veta turned around as he bowed his head, seeing Morgan approach. The soldiers parted like fish before a shark, giving him ample space. Well, the effort of making him not so terrifying failed miserably. The helmet doesn't help, a simple thing, for all that it had cost a small fortune. No decorations or embellishments, per his insistence. Just a simple blank face covering, tapering off near the chin. The eye holes were covered with grey plastics, no light shining through. It was black and a bit pointy, but he should have, by all accounts, looked like any other mercenary. Except for the lightsaber. And the fact that he's walking through a military base like wandering the park. And the general feeling of danger he exudes. Morgan came to a stop beside her, taking off his own helmet. In the brief moment his sight was obscured, the spook gave her a look. Yeah, fine. I keep my word. Every now and then. She cleared her throat, interrupting Morgan's staring. Corian relaxed slightly as the Sith stopped trying to burn a hole through him. My friend the spook here wants us to look into some ritualistic killings. Apparently the rebels are turning on one another, and he wants to know why. Ritualistic killings? Her boss mused. Sure. We're going to have to go in there anyway. Veta shot him a questioning stare, Morgan shrugging while nodding to the ensign. Politics, on a need-to-know basis. He doesn't need to know. We kill the captains, and the rest of the rebels fall apart. It would be appreciated, my lord. Corian confirmed. I understand the need for compartmentalizing information, no offense taken. Morgan nodded to her, putting his helmet back on. The commander has given us the location of their last position. We leave in the morning, so enjoy your evening. It might be the last one spent in comfort for the foreseeable future. Veta waved as he walked away, leaving her with the spook. He broke the silence when Morgan was well gone. Not going to be a spy, that one. I've seen armored tanks with more subtlety. His tone was light. Joking, even. Veta certainly had made similar, or worse, comments in the past. She felt her good mood evaporate anyway. That's what I'm here for. And you don't need subtlety when the tanks are running away. She put her helmet back on, walking off. Best keep that in mind, Ensign. Tell me where your captains are. If you do, I will let you go. Morgan promised. The rebel squirmed in his grip, defiance in his eyes. Killing slaves leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but after 4 days of this goddess-forsaken jungle I'm past caring. Veta pressed, holstering her blasters. Admittedly the ambush didn't help your case. Now tell us, or I will kill you myself. Morgan grasped the rebel tighter, preventing his wiggling from resulting in freedom. Normally he would have marveled at the fact he didn't even need to use enforcement to hold the man. But not now, not after 4 days of sleeping in shifts and eating ration bars. Morgan used his free hand to point to the bodies around them. Look, you're clearly organized and well trained. It was a decent ambush, just bad luck you tried it on a Sith. You know where your leaders are. Tell us, and live. You'll kill me anyway. The man spat. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Veta sighed. Believers. Rather die than give up those that already betrayed them. The man's eyes flickered to her. Morgan raised his eyebrow, faking surprise. You didn't know? This whole thing is a squabble between lords. My master organized it, humiliating a rival or some such. Your leaders were in it from the start. Fuck off. The rebel swore. Where'd you get your weapons, eh? Think the capital of the Empire is rife with smugglers? Veta asked pointedly. Or notice any missing members lately? Apparently some of your oh-so-glorious leaders are selling them back into slavery. Anyone mysteriously disappear? That's... The man hesitated, shaking his head. No. That can't be true. I won't believe it. They told me she died fighting, giving her life for freedom. See her body? Personally? The man shook his head rapidly, eyes wild. Morgan motioned to the jungle around them. The Empire won't drag dead rebels back to base, I can tell you that much. Hard enough to get through the jungle as it is. The man flinched. I don't know where the camp is. Veta frowned, but the man spoke before she could. I swear. They moved just after we left. What do you know? She asked as Morgan sat the man down. You must know something. You wouldn't have been that stubborn otherwise. The man shook his head again, eyes watering. There's a group. They're not with us, not really. Even Hagrin thinks they're too brutal, and that man killed his own aunt to spare her from the Hutt's brothels. His eyes unfocused, voice going soft. My wife. They told me she died fighting for us. For me. He shook his head, hair whipping wildly. Anger blazed in his eyes. 20 clicks southwest from here, holing up in tunnels. They don't move much. Idiots. Moving is how you stay alive. Morgan nodded, thanking the man. Go. You might live a few more weeks, if you're smart. He looked surprised, just for a moment, then sprinted away. They lost sight of him almost instantly. The jungle will eat him alive. Veta muttered. Would you prefer I killed him myself? Morgan asked, more sharply than he intended. She glared at him. No. She ground out. I just hate this. They're fighting for what they believe in. Fighting for their right to live free. And here we are, slaughtering them wholesale for daring to dream. Morgan sighed, raising his hand in surrender. Sorry. I don't like this either. The Empire has signed their death warrant, nothing we can do about that now. The sooner we find this other group, the sooner we find the captains. When we kill them, and Barris's secret with them, we can get out of here. With any luck it's the same group your spy friend is after. Veta waved dismissively, displeasure written on her face. They moved on in silence. It was hours later that they finally found the caves, hidden deep in a ravine. Morgan looked down, scooping up Veta with his free hand. She looked at him with wide eyes. What do you think you? He jumped, holding her tightly. His enforcement snapped into place halfway down, the landing doing little more than bend his knees. Veta cursed, hitting his shoulder as he set her down. I have rope, you brain-dead monkey. Big jump. Me strong. Morgan gloated quietly. Veta rolled her eyes, a small smile playing on her lips. Morgan could almost feel the awkward tension between them dissipate. Their good mood was short-lived, however, as Morgan felt dozens of people moving towards them. He waved Veta down as she drew her blasters, crossing his arms as the group left the cave. An odd bunch, but clearly warriors. Strong builds and graceful movements. Eyes wary, but no weapons in hand. Their leader was the exception. His stance was open, friendly, and he had no weapons on him. He was also the only one approaching closer than 20 feet. You are not the initiate. Their large, scarred leader said. You are Sith. The man bowed, a fluid motion. You honor us with your presence, mighty lord. The rest of the group shuffled nervously, bowing stiffly after a few seconds. Their leader continued, straightening. I am Trogar Unvol, leader of the Unchained. I am master of my hatred. Morgan, Sith apprentice. He replied. You have mastered your hatred? Trogar laughed. When the other slaves broke free, I knew their escape was a delusion. I knew that it was a ploy, a trick. Only Sith possess true freedom in the Empire, and we are not Sith. Still, I had hoped. Sith is an ideology. Morgan disagreed. It's true they would never accept a non-force sensitive among their ranks, but that's just politics. Cults and orders have, and will, exist around them. Trogar tilted his head, a humorless smile on his lips. You are kind. But we will not be Sith, for our glorious break from enslavement was not so glorious after all. And now the rest of them, the other captains, are blackmailing the lord that organized it. The man barked out a laugh, turning his back to Morgan. Are trying to blackmail. He corrected himself. Trying, but not succeeding. Morgan watched as the man walked to his followers, who by now looked afraid more than uncertain. Trogar laid his hands on the shoulder of the closest woman, looking into her eyes. A quick death. He promised her. Morgan warily backed up a few paces, Veta stepping behind him. A loud snap echoed between the rocks of the ravine, the woman dropping to the ground. The group staggered back, some trying to run back into the cave. The dull sound of explosions promised a dead end. Others tried to fight, hacking at their unarmed leader. Trogar weaved between them as if dancing, snaking his hands around another neck. "What the fuck?" Veta whispered, uncertainty laced with horror in her tone. "Should I shoot?" "No." Morgan replied quietly. "But be ready." The slaughter didn't last long, bodies piling on the floor. Trogar walked into the cave, unhurried, when he was done. Screams of horror escaped, unintelligible pleading mixed in between. He returned shortly after, not a speck of blood on him. Blessed peace be upon them. All came from the earth, and all must return to it. "Why?" Morgan asked in the following silence. "Why turn on your own? This is always how it was going to end." Trogar replied sadly. "A quick death is the best I could offer them." The scarred man dropped to his knees, head bowed. "The others have made camp east of here, high in the trees. Follow the stumps marked by birds, and you will find them." Sunlight broke through the ever-present storm, bathing the ravine in gold. Morgan nodded to himself, walking behind the kneeling man. He ignited his lightsaber. "Look at the sun," he commanded softly, "and rest." "Rest." Trogar breathed. "Yes. It is time. Finally." Morgan swung, face carved from granite. "We need to get off this godforsaken planet." Hagrin slammed his fist on the table, cups rattling loudly. "Hugrin, brother, tell me our contacts have agreed to smuggle us out." Hugrin shook his head. "They won't risk coming here, not now. Not with this much attention from the Sith." "Godsdamn!" Hagrin swore. "What about the rest of you?" He looked around the rough table, seeing too many uncertain looks. Turnover had been high lately, even for the captains. It had allowed him to solidify his leadership, at least, but too many of the faces looked young. Inexperienced. Not that anyone around here is green anymore. Not after 2 months of this. He admitted to himself. "We could dig in, fortify this position?" one captain offered. Hagrin sneered at him, hating how the boy couldn't even grow a beard yet. "And when they start shelling us from orbit? You think the trees will protect us, do you, boy? No, staying here is out of the question." If it was up to him, he'd have thrown them all out and planned this with his brother. Unfortunately, their rebellion was made from many different factions. They got to elect their own captains, and he couldn't do a damn thing about it. Not yet. Not even if they elected piss-green virgins to lead them. "We could relocate again?" another offered, his neighbor nodding in agreement. This one, at least, had been a pit fighter before all of this. Sadly, he knew fuck all about leading people. His partner was worse, some accountant before getting into too much debt. Married, too, but he didn't mind that. It made them all the easier to control. "We'd lose more men to desertion and wildlife than we do fighting the imps," he told the pair. "We cannot move, not if we want any semblance of strength left when they find us." "If we cannot stay, and we cannot move, what do you suggest?" his brother asked. Hagrin growled. "We need to convince the smugglers to bring us more weapons, at the very least. Maybe shield generators, if they can manage it. And how would we pay for it, exactly?" Their last member spoke up. "Our coffers are dry, and I don't think Barras is going to pay for it. Not now that we're blackmailing him." He narrowed his eyes at the woman, biting his tongue. That one was sharp, and the last of their original council. Apart from him, of course. His brother was here in an advisory role only. Something no one had liked yet hadn't been able to stop. "We'll find a way," he told her firmly. "They must agree to come first." He turned to Hugren, cutting off whatever she was about to say in reply. "Lie to them, if necessary." His brother nodded, walking out of the hut. He sighed when the other captains started arguing, political blocks forming before his very eyes. "They just need to get here," he told himself. "Then they can smuggle me and Hugren off this fucking planet. The money my last shipment earned should be enough. Will be enough." Hagrid suppressed a snort. Paying the smugglers to get off this planet with the credits they paid him for their more useless members. The irony wasn't lost on him. The arguing went around and around, never quite coming to any decisions. He always had hated councils. They got nothing done, wasted buckets of time doing it, and usually it fell down to one person anyway. Or two, in this case. He scrutinized the woman, almost seeing the web she was spinning to get the majority vote away from him. Something needed to be done about her, and soon. His planning was interrupted by one of their guards barging into the tent, white as a sheet. "Sith, coming." The man got out, grasping for breath. Hagrid surged up, grabbing his blaster from the middle of the table. "Sound the alarm." "How long until they get here?" The guard said. "It's only one. And he's already here." "One?" he thought, bewildered. What kind of maniac assaults a full war camp alone? And why didn't the alarm go off? "Then shoot the bastard," he shouted, storming to the piece of cloth serving as their door. The rest of the captains stumbled after him, the guard at their head. "We're trying. He's cutting through everyone we're sending at him." Hagrid moved to the edge of the platform, looking down. One of their original captains, long dead, had suggested they use their construction experience to avoid the beasts by building high off the ground. He had liked the man. Real shame he had discovered where his money came from. The Sith was standing there, a ring of rebels surrounding him. The platform below the captain's hut was large, meant to allow their numbers to come together. Now it was full, yet no one was shooting. "Kill the bastard," he roared, raising his blaster. He saw his brother, almost exactly on the opposite side, take aim to fire. Hugren had always been loyal. Always been better at shooting too, so he was quicker on the draw than he was. The Sith didn't even look back as he reflected the bolt. Didn't look back as Hagrid watched his brother's eyes widen. Watch as he bolt impacted his brother in the torso, punching straight through him. "Oh," he thought numbly, seeing his brother's body fall to the jungle below. "So that's why no one's shooting." Before he could think better of it, he was already jumping, landing on the lower platform with a thud. He barely felt his knees complaining as he grabbed a Vibros word from someone's hands, raising it to the Sith. The armored man said nothing, turning to face him fully. Doubt tried to form, but the numbness swallowed it all. Reason tried to reassert itself, but by then he was already charging. He knew he had to dodge the lightsaber. Thought that if he could dodge the first blow, his sword would take the head clean off this fucker. His arm froze halfway into his first swing, wrongness tearing through him as his limb refused to move. Searing heat radiated from his stomach, and he looked down to see plasma sticking through his navel. The wrongness left, pain taking its place. He crumpled, clutching his wound. Hagrid blinked, suddenly seeing 4 more bodies on the ground. He noticed bolt marks instead of plasma cuts, his shocked mind coming to a conclusion. "Sniper," he thought weakly. "He has a sniper somewhere." He blinked again, and the scene changed once more. Now his fellow captains were on their knees before the Sith, their own followers keeping them there. The Sith's lightsaber flashed, and their council was dead in its entirety. "My mission was to kill your captains," he heard the Sith say. "And that mission is completed. I care not what happens to you now, but know that I will be reporting this location to the Imperial military on my way back." His failing vision saw his comrades run like rats, vague disgust running through him. "I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees." The last thing Hagrid saw was the Sith looking straight at him. For some inane reason, his last thought was that the Sith knew exactly what he had done. How he had sold his fellow slaves, killed his rival captains. His last thought was that a Sith found his deeds disgusting.